Former President Donald Trump, during his 4 years in office, went to great lengths to curtail immigration. And now, the result of that policy is having disastrous consequences on the country, the economy. According to economists, low numbers of immigration, along with the effects of COVID, mainly, of course, people either retiring or dying as a result of the pandemic, has left the economy in critical need of workers. Port. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell has estimated that the economy is short about 3.5 million workers as a result of these things combined. Now, economists estimate that half of these workers would typically be migrants allowed into the country legally, according to the Washington Post. So now, Adam Ozimek, chief economist at the Economic Innovation Group, a bipartisan public policy organization, told the Post, quote, "There is no question we need more immigration." Think about that. So right now, you still have right-wingers that are screaming about the border. Joe Biden needs to go to the border. He needs to go to the border now. He needs to watch the immigrants coming over the border. It's an open border, open border. We never had an open border. At least not in my lifetime. Never had an open border. Maybe the closest thing was when Ronald Reagan did amnesty for all undocumented immigrants. That was interesting. But again, that was before my time. But yeah, we've never had open borders. So I don't know what they're talking about. So look, Ozimek continues, right? He says immigrants aren't just workers. They're particularly flexible, mobile workers who help address acute labor shortages wherever they emerge. And that's particularly important in this constrained economy we're facing right now. I just also kind of have to note that, yes, there's a reason that we have a bit of a constrained economy. Jerome Powell has been raising interest rates in a way, in an effort to try to stop inflation, which actually isn't stopping inflation. It's actually making sure that wages are being driven downward further by creating job losses. So it's interesting on the one hand what they're arguing versus they're not. But I agree that, yes, immigration is actually a net positive to this country. Now, one of the issues that we've talked about, by the way, when it comes to immigration, is immigrants do jobs that Americans don't want to do. It's not that those jobs aren't available, or it's not as if those jobs, like are being stolen from Americans. No, it's those jobs don't want to, Americans don't want to do those jobs. And it's because those jobs are hard. They're very, very difficult. They're generally very low paying, physically demanding in hospitality, agriculture, construction, and healthcare. So let me give you an example. I know it's an anecdotal example, but I think it's really illustrative of what kind of jobs these are. Okay. When I was a teenager, a friend and I got a job picking strawberries. We thought, hey, we're picking strawberries. Okay. Cool. It can't be that hard. I mean, sure, pick berries. No. Now, it turns out it was actually pretty hard work. It's backbreaking hot. The numbers of berries that you needed to pick for any significant amount of money are actually really high. For one day picking berries, hours and hours, we made enough combined to share a pizza. That was it. And that's after going through hoops to even get our money for that time working. And so, look, I know it's, again, anecdotal, but if you think immigrants do not work hard, I suggest you go and do some of their jobs and see what they have to put up with. Oh, right. People have done that, even for $15 an hour. And still, we're like, yeah, no, this job sucks. Like, these are terrible. So, look, the two of us, my friend and I, we're basically the only English-speaking white people that were in that group. And that tells me now, when I look back on that experience, I think about how badly those workers were exploited by these, agricultural companies. And they still work their asses off because, well, they had to do what they had to do to survive, right? Of course. Of course. The whole idea that immigrants are coming in, they're stealing good jobs and leeching off the government is just straight up xenophobic propaganda. That's all it is. And by the way, that propaganda has really has a one point, and it's to get you to hate other people over some weirdo cultural stuff. The ones who respond to the message of xenophobia and hate are people who are white nationalists. They're afraid that immigrants will outnumber them. And I guess the logic goes, if you can even derive any sort of logic from it, is that, well, if more immigrants come in and they actually get into positions of power, then they're going to treat us the way that we treated them. Oh, really? And why would you be worried about that? How did you treat immigrants again? Oh, right. You treated them really badly. Oh, you treated them like second-class citizens and like garbage. Oh, of course. Well, that's why. Sure. But no, they have also this white replacement conspiracy theory nonsense. And again, it is based on fear and bigotry of being treated poorly, and also on a sense of superiority. I think definitely an unearned sense of superiority. What makes you better? Being born as a white person? How does that make you better? No, you're a better person by the things that you do. You're a better person for your actions and what you do to make people's lives better. If you spend your life making other people's lives worse, then you're garbage. You're a garbage person. It doesn't matter what nationality you are. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. You're a garbage person if you go out of your way to make other people's lives worse. If you work to make other people's lives better and to make the world a better place to live in for everyone, that's what makes you a good person. This whole, white supremacy has never, ever made sense, ever. And it's just, really, it's for dumb people to feel like they're better, to feel like they have some sort of advantage. Dumb, ignorant people. Now, the Post also noted, though, that in the past 6 months, immigration has somewhat rebounded, but it's far from the levels of which we need to actually replace workers that were lost due to COVID. So, look, these shortages remain while the nation grapples with worker losses caused by retirement, health issues, and people that have, of course, left the labor force because they died. I mean, that's one of the big issues here, COVID, right? You have long COVID, people that are disabled as a result of catching COVID, and they never really recovered. There are people that have, organ injuries, people that have, issues with memory, COVID brain fog, fatigue. Those are people that can't exactly go back into the workforce and do what they did before. Many of them, many people have actually went on disability as a result of, getting COVID, long COVID. And a lot of people ended up, not taking the vaccine because of on the right wing who said, don't do it. Oh, vaccine bad. And guess what? They got COVID. Many of them died. Not all of them, of course. A lot of them lived. But many of them ended up with issues afterwards. And now they're no longer in the workforce. And then, of course, you had the issue with Trump and the Republicans opening up the government too quickly. And by the way, I also will criticize Biden for that as well, and his pushback to get everyone back to work as soon as possible. And, Democrats not, extending unemployment. Republicans pushing to end unemployment benefits as well. And so, there is a lot of blame on this conservative orthodoxy, which was to get people back to work as soon as possible and to give them as few resources as we can. While, of course, giving so much money to wealthy corporations. The amount of fraud that you've seen in the Paycheck Protection Program, because it was basically unsupervised, handing out money to all of these different, companies, sometimes really, really big companies, or sometimes people that were just scamming the system because there was very, very little oversight. You had all of that. All of that. So, this really does feed in to the whole issue with, of course, there not being enough immigrant workers to do the jobs that, again, Americans don't really choose to do. And so, look, and the other issue here, too, is there's not enough pay to entice workers. Again, as I mentioned, there's just some workers that, some jobs that American workers wouldn't do for $15 an hour, probably wouldn't even do for $20 an hour. And these are very difficult jobs. And, yet we're not raising the wages. Of course not. And we're not, allowing in immigrants. And so what's going on is the problem is here, and it's not going to be solved. The right wing will do absolutely nothing about it. I know, because they actually tried to increase the number of legal immigration. Democrats and even some Republicans crossed the aisle and were like, hey, we do, this is a problem. This is a problem. Well, too many Republicans, however, said, no, we're not going to do it. We know, because our base is racist. And so if we vote in order to increase immigration, the racists in our base will hate us, and then will vote against us. These are the people that are, look, they're not against illegal immigration. They're against all immigration, unless it's from white countries. They're against the browning of America, and they've admitted it in many, many, many instances. They're against the people coming in from what they call shithole companies or countries. These are people that have worked really hard and, believe in the American dream. But Republicans don't want them there because Republicans are racist.